Try this with any chatbot. Ask it the exact same question twice, word for word. You will very often get two completely different answers. Now that should bother you. A calculator does not do that. Type 2 plus 2 100 times, you get 4 100 times. So is the AI broken? Does it not actually know the answer? Neither. What you are seeing is a deliberate dial, built right into the machine, and it is the same dial that decides whether an AI feels like a careful expert or a wild, creative artist. Let's find that dial. Remember from last time what the model actually hands back. Not a word. A whole distribution, a ranked list of how likely every possible next word is. The cat sat on the gives us, mat at 40%, floor at 12, sofa at 8, and a long tail after that. But you do not want a probability chart in your chat window. You want one word. So somewhere the machine has to take this entire spread of options and commit to a single choice. And that one act of choosing is where all the variety comes from. There are two basic ways it could choose. The first is the obvious one: always take the highest bar. Always pick mat, the most likely word, every single time. This is called greedy, and it is perfectly consistent. Ask twice, get the same thing twice. But it is also strangely lifeless. It tends to be repetitive, and it can get stuck in loops. The second way is more interesting. Instead of always grabbing the top, it rolls a weighted die. Mat is the most likely, so usually it lands on mat. But 12% of the time it lands on floor. Now and then sofa. This is called sampling, and it produces writing that feels far more natural and human. Most chatbots sample, and that right there is your answer to the opening mystery. Different answers each time are not a malfunction. They are the dice. But here is the real control. You do not just choose whether to roll the dice, you can choose how loaded they are. That setting has a name you have probably seen if you have ever played with an AI tool: temperature. Temperature is a single number that reshapes the entire distribution before the model draws from it. Low temperature, high temperature. It is the difference between an AI that is buttoned up and predictable and one that is loose and surprising. Watch what it actually does to the shape. Turn the temperature down toward 0. The gaps between the bars get stretched wider and wider. The most likely word's lead becomes overwhelming, and everything else gets crushed toward nothing. The distribution collapses into a single tall spike. So at low temperature, the model is focused, careful, almost deterministic. It basically always picks the safest, most likely word. At a temperature of exactly 0, it is pure greedy. Same input, same answer every time. This is what you want for things like code or facts, where you want the boring, correct, reliable choice. Now turn it the other way, up. The gaps shrink. The tall bar shrinks down toward the others, and the unlikely words, sofa, couch, the weird ones in the tail, suddenly get a real chance of being picked. The distribution flattens out. The model gets adventurous, unexpected, more creative, and at the extreme it starts spitting out nonsense, because now even bizarre words are fair game. And the mechanism is beautifully simple. Temperature literally takes every score and divides it by that one number before turning the scores into probabilities. Divide by a small number and the gaps explode, sharp. Divide by a big number and the gaps squash together, flat. One division. That is the whole trick. And now connect it back to the loop from last episode. Every word the model picks gets fed back in to decide the next one. So a single different choice early on does not just change one word, it sends the entire rest of the answer down a completely different path. Pick mat and you get one story. Pick floor, and 3 words later you are somewhere else entirely, and it just keeps branching. That is why when you hit regenerate, you do not get the same answer with one word swapped, you get a whole new reply. One roll of the dice at the start, echoing all the way down. So the next time an AI feels weirdly random or weirdly robotic, you will know exactly which dial is turned. 2 honest things to keep, though. Temperature does not make the model smarter. It adds no new knowledge. It only reshapes a distribution the model already produced. And funnily enough, even at temperature zero, the big hosted models are not always perfectly identical, because when lots of people hit the same server at once, their requests get bundled together in shifting ways, and the math can come out a hair differently enough to flip a close call, which is why the newest reasoning models often just lock the temperature and do not let you touch it. So, the model gives a distribution, and a dial decides how boldly it picks. But this whole time I have been telling you a small lie. I keep saying the model predicts the next word. It does not. It does not see words at all. What it actually sees is far stranger, and it is why AI famously could not count the letters in strawberry. That is next.